Thank you very much, Steve, and welcome everyone inside St James's Park as the players take a knee before the start of a new Premier League season here at the famous old ground on Tyneside. And it begins now. Who knows what this season is going to bring, but what I can tell you is that we've got two teams, two clubs, two sets of supporters who are absolutely brimming with confidence after what their teams managed to do last season. Newcastle finishing in fourth and have got the Champions League to look forward to, and Aston Villa, who at one stage looked like they might get relegated and ended up under Unai Emery finishing seventh and in Europe again. So the match begins, it's all black and white, but the temperature is very late summer and the noise is cacophonous as Gordon crosses from the left-hand side for Newcastle and Villa clear it away on the edge of the penalty area. And breaking downfield, Botman had to be quick there against Villa's new signing Moussa Diaby, who himself has got a reputation for being rapid, and Botman got there first to put it out of play. So here we are on Tyneside, 5 Live, the Premier League, Newcastle 0, Aston Villa 0, and sitting alongside me here is Pat Nevin, once of Chelsea, Everton, Scotland, writer, broadcaster, got a new book out. Pat, welcome to the new season.
Do you know what about the noise here? I mean, we know we always talk about it, but particularly in this first day of the season, the excitement in this place is astonishing. So there's not going to be any lack of atmosphere in this game, and it started off very, very lively anyway. Anthony Gordon, first of all, he looks sharp.
Yeah, I think that's one of the calls in the team news today. Eddie Howe could have been Harvey Barnes, the new signing, but instead Anthony Gordon, who remember was the player of the tournament when England won the under-21s in the at the end of last season, scored a couple of goals. Big season for him, and he's in the team. Ball's out of play for a throw-in over on the far side. It's a throw-in to Aston Villa in their defensive area, in the left-back area. So Newcastle's team, Tonali is the new signing in the Newcastle team, Sandro Tonali. Looking forward to seeing how he fits in. But other than that, very familiar. Pope, Trippier, Cher, Botman, Byrne, Bruno Guimaraes with Tonali and Joe Linton, and then Almiron, Isak and Gordon. So Callum Wilson, top scorer for Newcastle, 18 goals last season, is only a substitute. That's a talking point. Livramento as well as Barnes, the other two summer arrivals, are substitutes for Newcastle. And just the one new signing in the Villa team, I've mentioned him already, Moussa Diaby, here on the right hand side. The rest of the team, Martinez, Cash, Konza, Mings and Digne, Louise and Camara, Diaby, Bailey, McGinn and Ollie Watkins. So Pau Torres and Tielemans, the other two Villa arrivals, are also named as substitutes. Here's Tyrone Mings at the back. Villa in their first choice colours, the claret and blue. That's brilliant from Guimaraes. Sends the ball through the middle for Isak to chase. Mings does well, and then his central defensive partner Konza was there as well to cover, and between them they managed to dispossess Isak just inside the Villa box.
Well, he's not easy to dispossess because he's got phenomenal skills. He's also got great pace as well there. I thought that forwards might have gone down there. He didn't.
Guimaraes, his ball goes all the way diagonally across the penalty area to Gordon. Gordon now just taps it back. Here's Dan Byrne. Byrne back to Gordon again. The bleached blonde Gordon gets away from Cash and is tripped. Free kick to Newcastle on the left. And referee Andy Madley might have been thinking about an early yellow card for Matty Cash, but I think it's going to be just a free kick.
Yeah, he's got the ball 3 times now, Gordon, and each time he is ghosted by the defender with consummate ease. You know, he had that period at Everton before, you know, went pear-shaped near the end. But he has started this game looking like he's on fire. Absolute belief that he's got the beating of his fullback there, and that's a great thing for any white player.
Yeah, only 4 starts for Newcastle until today. This is 5th. They've chosen to start the new season, and he's won this free kick for Newcastle. Trippier waiting to take it. It's from out on the left-hand side. There's a little bit of pushing and shoving. Villa have got a line on the edge of their own box there, and Dan Byrne is causing a bit of mischief in there. Referee's keeping an eye on this. The jostling continues. Trippier plays it in, and actually it was a poor delivery from Trippier, most unlike him. Watkins was able to easily clear her away on the edge of the box. Took deflection. Italian play for a throw to Villa in their own right back position. Pat Nevin.
Somewhat surprised there, you know. We know it's good quality when he puts the ball in. On this occasion, when you get Dan Burns in there, as if he's about to call, it's absolute mayhem. Just to put it in low, about knee height. No disappointment, but early on in the game and early on in the season.
So Newcastle United 0, Aston Villa 0, on what's been a breathless sporting weekend. I listened to the commentary from Sydney on the way here. That was tense. This is free flowing in the early stages. Newcastle, ball on the edge of the area. Guimaraes with a shot, and Martinez out to his right. He didn't really get the whip on it that he wanted, so Martinez was able to see it, dive to his right, push it away. Here's Gordon again though. Gordon's cross comes off ahead, and it's turned into the net by Tonali. He's got a goal on his debut in the 6th minute at St James's Park. Sandro Tonali makes an instant impact. That's an absolute dream for a new signing, and for him to do it here in front of all of these black and white shirts. What a start from Newcastle's new Italian. 1-0 they lead.
Well, it's come from the left-hand side, which is no surprise at all, because Gordon has been brilliant since the start of this game. But in the build-up to that, Tonali was the man who won the ball in the midfield anyway in the first place. Ball breaks out to the left there, and there's just such a liveliness about Newcastle, and he gets to the byline, Gordon, brilliant ball in there, but it's that willingness to get in front of the defender. Tonali, header, dream start, and everything he's done so far has been perfect, Tonali, but what a brilliant start for him. What a confidence booster.
Lovely left-footed cross by Gordon, and arriving on the stretch on the edge of the 6-yard box, he got his right foot to it. It's quite an Italian finish actually. It had a little bit of Tardelli about it, and he put it in the net. What a start. I mean, that's a dream, Pat. I was actually going to say to you, had it not been a Saturday afternoon today, you know, the build-up to this game, and I was going to say, you know, what must this be like for Sandro Tonali, AC Milan, but coming here and experiencing this as he's in again. Tonali, it's saved by Martinez. He's got a right hand to it. It was from an angle on the left hand side into the box, a left foot shot, and the Villa goalkeeper got a crucial arm to it to deflect it wide of the post.
I think the Newcastle fans are going to like him if he keeps on playing like this. You know, in the build up to the goal, you were doing the commentary, and I was going to say, what a brilliant win back in the midfield by Tonali. But before I had a chance to say that, he got on the end of the cross. That going forward, and if you look at him, Guimaraes in the midfield there, oh, does that look like a spectacular partnership just now?
Well, the promise is certainly there. Corner then for Newcastle. Trippier takes it short, Trippier gets it back, and then mishits it. But it actually bounces back for Newcastle. Centrally, Almiron though couldn't find the pass now. Villa break forward dangerously with Diaby. Diaby with his pace shoots from the angle. And it was actually Anthony Gordon who was racing back with Diaby and did get there shoulder to shoulder. Forced him a little wider perhaps than he would have liked, and the shot was straight at Pope.
Well, straight down looking at Eddie Howe. He's thinking to himself, how come we find ourselves in that position? I mean, it was a bad ball out from the corner kick. But to be leaving one player back, being Anthony Gordon, I don't think he was set to be there in the first place. So a bit of disorganisation. They're lucky to get away with that. But what about Gordon's place there? He stayed with Diaby.
Cash has fouled Gordon again. This is deep inside Newcastle territory though. It's a free kick, but referee Madley, I'm sure, will be totting them up against Cash. Certainly Gordon and Tonali, well, they combined for the goal. They've immediately caught the eye.
They absolutely have. You know, Gordon's been here a little while, but I don't think he's completely settled into the player that you know he's capable of being last season. And he's put under a little bit of pressure, obviously, with Hartley Barnes there. He's reacted well.
Here's Watkins, Villa's top scorer of last season. But he's dispossessed by Almiron, who is back there. Here is Tonali again, lovely touch under pressure, halfway inside his own half. And then it's back with Trippier. Newcastle to play it, trying to play it away from the back, and Trippier wins a throw-in off Douglas Luiz. So Newcastle United 1, Aston Villa 0, Pat.
He's got such a lovely arrogance about him, Tonali, hasn't he? He's not somebody who's come in here looking nervous in any way whatsoever. Just the way he carries himself. His deportment on the field is brilliant. Real belief in himself, real belief in his ability. But then, I suppose you would have that if you scored this early. But really, he looks at one with this place.
Well, we're under grey skies on Tyneside. Here's Diaby again for Villa, though, playing it out to McGinn on the left-hand side. The Villa captain, McGinn, onto his right foot, plays it back. This is inside the Newcastle defensive third at the Gallagate end. The cross comes in, but it's cleared away, hooked away by Fabien Cher, who missed a bit of time pre-season, had a hamstring problem, but he's recovered okay to be fit for the start of the season, the Swiss international. Villa again, Watkins with a header, Diaby scores! He's got a goal on his debut now, and it's Newcastle 1, Aston Villa 1, and what a roaring start for Newcastle and Villa and their new signings. 1-1.
Well, long live this. This keeps on going on. It has been end to end, it has been exciting. Now, Villa have scarcely been in the game yet. They've had one great break where Anthony Gordon managed to stop them. Anthony and Diaby was stopped just by pure pace of Gordon. However, this time it falls to him on the half volley. Now that looks like an easy tap in from where we're sitting just here just now, but it isn't. You know, he has to keep that ball down, he has to keep it on target, but he stroked it effortlessly away. Looked like to me it was on the half volley. Keeper was completely and utterly, no, he couldn't see a thing there. There are massive players in front of him. Well, that's going again, hasn't it? What a start.
Looked like I'm going to say it was a half volley. Yeah, he was about 12, 13 yards out. That little header from Watkins actually just was crucial as the ball came in from the left-hand side. A sort of near-post header from Watkins just dropped it perfectly for Diaby, who was arriving. And he didn't snatch at it. He just caught it beautifully and planted it into the net. So Newcastle 1, Aston Villa 1.
Well, in the build-up to the game, the lead-up just handing to us, we were told this was a game most people are looking forward to most this weekend, and a few Liverpool and Chelsea fans might have disagreed.
I might have raised an eyebrow myself, Pat.
You may well have done. However, it looks as if it may have been a good line.
So 1-1 with 12 minutes on the clock. So Sandro Tonali scores on his competitive debut for Newcastle, and then within 5 minutes Moussa Diaby, who'd already had a chance, remember, when he was sent through, Diaby scores on his competitive debut for Aston Villa. Scored a couple of goals pre-season, but now this is for real. Nobody remembers pre-season now, although I might add that both of these teams were unbeaten pre-season. So the form from last season, certainly from a Villa point of view, the way that they finished the season, continued into the pre-season. And now I mentioned the fact, full of confidence, full of optimism. Well, that's been reflected in the first 13 minutes play here at St James's Park, as rather fittingly, after the all-action start that's been made to this match, the sun comes brightly out, grey skies above, floodlights on, but the east stand on the far side is actually bathed in warm sunshine. Great noise inside the stadium. Villa with a throw halfway inside their own half. Byrne heads it back downfield and out of play for another throw into Aston Villa. So 1-1 it is. Eddie Howe on the edge of the coaching area, and Unai Emery there as well. What a transformational effect Unai Emery had after coming in as manager, appointed in October but couldn't take over, if you remember, until the start of November, until all of the paperwork was completed. What a change he's made. I think that people doubted whether he would be able to do that, but he's proved them wrong thus far. Guimaraes with a long pass from centre circle, but that bounces all the way through to Martinez, who, remember, made a very important save from Tonali that would have made it 2-0 to Newcastle.
Yeah, there's so much happening earlier in this game. And we've had one or two people saying that this season we could have some games that are, 100 minutes or even more than that. I don't mind if it's like this. I'll put all the 100 minutes of this.
Well, at the moment, this game is more 100 miles an hour, and it's out of play for a throw into Newcastle down the left-hand side, just down to our left. From our low position here, we're just behind the Newcastle dugout, the perspex top. You can just see Eddie Howe's head and Jason Tyndall behind him. Newcastle take the throw, and Cash steers it back out of play for another throw to the black and white stripes of Newcastle United. He'll be back in the Champions League. There's great excitement about the draw that comes up on the 31st of August, Thursday the 31st. If you're a Newcastle fan, listen out that day to see who they're paired with. Probably in pot 4, Newcastle, which means that could have 3 really big European clubs in that group stage draw with them. Whoever they are, they'll have to come here and face this at St James's Park. Newcastle have got a free kick just forward and left of the centre circle that Trippier is waiting to take. Villa holding a high line. Trippier raises his right arm and then waits. Still waits to deliver. Actually plays it square. And then Tonali swings it in. There's a stretch across and it's taken by Isak. 2-1 Newcastle. The home team are back in front, and Alexander Isak is off and running for the new season as well. Clipped in by Tonali. He was involved in this one as well. A stretch that sent it across the goal, and Isak was in there, 8 yards out, to side-foot it in and make it Newcastle 2, Aston Villa 1.
Yeah, and the ease of it made you think, is anyone offside? You know, the ball was played in there. Referee's actually still waiting for it now to check it from that first ball in. But once again, the ball was played to Tonali. He didn't put the ball in right away, and his delivery was perfect. They are checking the VAR as we speak right now about that first cross in. I mean, I'm certainly looking at the Villa players. They're convinced that was offside, that first cross in. The referee hasn't moved back. No one's lining up as if the goal has been scored. The flag never went up, John. At no point did the flag go up, so the assistant referee didn't think so. But once again, chances being created all over the place.
Well, I was like you, Pat. I immediately looked at the assistant on the far side.
Well, the first phase, they're not looking at it again anymore, by the looks of things.
Well, we've got regular listeners will know that we have tiny television screens at St James's Park. And frankly, if they're drawing lines on that screen, I can't see them. Well, so we'll just have to wait, like everyone else, to find out what the decision is. Referee madly waits. Stockley Park are examining it. The lines will be being drawn and the goal stands. It must have been close, but the assistant on the far side, Nick Hopton, was absolutely right to keep his flag down, and it's Newcastle 2, Aston Villa 1, and Alexander Isak has his first goal of the new season.
Yeah, and there was huge complaints about VAR from the Newcastle fans if that had been chopped off, but when they moved it on to the second phase, I knew it would be a goal there because it was cut back in the second phase or so. 2-1, and this game could be any scoreline.
2-1 Newcastle, but here come Villa down the right-hand side. Cross into the penalty area as block comes out to Cher, who controls it and very coolly chips it away. It was Leon Bailey who was away down the right-hand side for Aston Villa. Villa take the throw. Cash infield to Kamara, and then Douglas Luiz plays it all the way back to the halfway line to Konza. So 2-1 Newcastle. I hope you're keeping up. If you're at home, if you're in the car on the way back from one of the afternoon matches or whatever you've been doing on a Saturday afternoon, we'll round everything up for you, by the way, at half-time and have more interviews from this afternoon's games. We've already heard live from Roy Hodgson on 5 Live, heard from Mikel Arteta, heard from James Milner, and we'll have more of the afternoon's major players. I'm also conscious of the fact as well that England and Wales are playing at Twickenham in the Rugby Union in a World Cup warm-up match. So we'll get you a latest score on that, I'm sure, on the England and Wales match once we get a chance. And Martinez comes out of his penalty area and heads it forward towards the halfway line. Then the ball is lifted forward by Botman, but Martinez is out of his penalty area again. And now Bailey is challenged by Joe Linton, who tackles it out of play and gets a pat on his back from Dan Burn, lets out a huge bellow of delight that he put in that tackle. Gordon was there to congratulate him as well.
You know, it's hard for Joe Linton just now, and a number of other players here that are good players, that are, you know, effective players. Joe Linton's had very little effect in this game. I think it's one of his first touches that he's made a good tackle. That's why he's enjoying it, because the game has been so fast that one or two players have been left out of Almiron. You've hardly mentioned them so far, but they're all capable of having an effect in this game, as is the likes of John McGinn for Aston Villa, who again, maybe only mention him once, but he's a very important player, as you know, for Villa.
I can do better than just give you a score update on England-Wales. We can hear from Chris Jones inside Twickenham.
18 minutes gone, John. England 3, Wales 0. Some enterprising stuff from England in this opening quarter, but just the one Owen Farrell penalty to show for all their possession and territory, turning pressure into points, or lack of it, a familiar tale so far in this August for England. Now Wales are deep in English territory, although England have the defensive scrum. Almost 20 minutes gone. England 3, Wales 0.
We're looking forward, by the way, to bringing you comprehensive coverage, commentary coverage, 5 Live and Sports Extra of the World Cup, which begins, well, it must be in 4 weeks' time now. Fast approaching. The 100 as well, the latest match in the 100. You'll be able to hear on Sports Extra this evening. Watch it on television. Newcastle leading by 2-1.
It's worth underlining that Villa don't look cowed, do they, John? They've lost 2 goals, but they don't look like a team that are fearful in any way in this game.
Free kick on the right that McGinn will play in, left-footed. So McGinn waiting just down in front of us here to our right with his left foot. McGinn plays it in towards the penalty spot, aiming for Mings. It was headed away by Byrne. Now Douglas Luiz takes it up 30 yards out. Ball's played across by Konza, slightly awkwardly. Digne, left-footed ball in right across the penalty area, which is kept in, or is it kept in? No, it's not kept in by Bailey on the dead ball line, so it is a goal kick. I must say, Pat, I would love to know who it was from the free kick that led to the Newcastle goal. So Tonali played it in. I think it was Dan Byrne on the stretch who volleyed it back across for Isak to turn in.
I know why you think it was him, because the long legs stretched out, didn't it? He had to do a lot to get to it, and it was crossed back with the left foot there. But you're right, it was a cut back. You had to be calm about it. You had to make sure you caught it on the volley and put it back into the danger area, which he did perfectly. And he's again a player who's had limited involvement in the game, but his involvement has been incredibly important, arguably the most important part so far.
Yeah, I think it was Byrne. I'm 90% Byrne, 10% Botman, but I'm fairly confident. We'll find out at half-time. Newcastle 2, Aston Villa 1. So already 3 goals here at St James's Park to begin the new Premier League season, and the promise of more. Bruno Guimaraes is dragged back, pulled back by camera, and someone up in the stand to our right making it clear that he feels that referee Madley should have produced a yellow card by now, but he hasn't. It's just a free kick. Checks on the well-being of Bruno Guimaraes. Wasn't much in that, just sort of tugged back on his shoulder. But Newcastle were breaking away. It was
actually the way he fell. Guimaraes fell on his shoulder there, and I think he got a little bit afraid of himself. But it does look a very powerful midfield now. We know Guimaraes has got real power. Tonali looks as physical as any of us. I bet the Antonio Contes as well, possibly there from back in his day playing. And we know Joe Linton's a big, strong, powerful player as well. So capable players, good technical players, all wanting to attack from that area. So I do suspect these Newcastle fans are going to enjoy watching that midfield this season.
Well, I know Tonali is AC Milan through and through. He's a Milan fan, big fan of Andrea Pirlo, and I think he definitely has a touch of the physical of Pirlo. Oh, Isak's done well here. He's won the ball back on the right-hand side, angles it back to Almiron on the edge of the area, who couldn't control it. Actually, Douglas Luiz did well, came in, won the ball back. Now it's played forward. Bailey through to Diaby. Diaby approaching the penalty area, slips it across. Watkins under pressure, turns the shot wide. Cher did well there against Watkins, and as a result, Watkins couldn't get a clean shot in and sent the ball rolling past the foot of the post. Goal kick.
It was good defending though, but I mean, look at when you've got strikers working together, and they are almost working like a two up front. Diaby alongside Watkins. Now he's playing almost one off him, slightly off him, Diaby, but they're looking for each other, they're understanding each other. Both of them are very quick, look like natural goal scorers, but sometimes they don't always work together, natural scorers. They are linking up very, very well indeed, and that's one of the reasons why there's a real belief from these Aston Villa players and indeed their fans in the stands watching that. And you know, it's a tough one for Newcastle. They've defended well, but they've had to defend well.
Well, the Villa player who Isaac Beat on the far side has stayed down, so we've got a stoppage in play here, and the players have come across. I'm not surprised to have swigs from the water bottles, and the two managers, Eddie Howe and Unai Emery, are down there with one or two pieces of information. At half-time we're going to hear from, amongst others, Sean Dyche, Marco Silva and Tom Lockyer of Luton, who is I'm sure, well, if you haven't been reading about him this week, it's quite a story that. Remember how he collapsed in the playoff final? Tom Lockyer, real concern about him, and obviously played today in the Premier League for Luton Town, who did, in our earlier commentary, lose by 4-1. Everton, Sean Dyche's Everton, lost 1-0 at home to Fulham. Finished Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1, Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1, and earlier Arsenal won by 2-1 against Nottingham Forest. Still, this stoppage in play continues on the far side, and the medical people are on there, and there is a little bit of concern here for Tyrone Mings, who is the Villa player who is down, who really found his feet again last season, got himself back into the England squad in that latter part of the season, and let's hope that there's not a problem here for Tyrone Mings, who's still lying on his back. It's a problem with his right leg. So Mings continues to receive treatment. So while he does, let's get another update from Chris Jones at Twickenham.
25 minutes gone. England 3, Wales 0. A bright start by England. Henry Arundel not far away from Owen Farrell-Grubber. Farrell soon kicked England into the lead, but maintaining pressure, turning into points and keeping hold of the ball continues to be an issue for England, and Wales are just growing in stature as they attack around the halfway. And as I say that, it's knocked on by Wales as both sides make handling errors perhaps typical of World Cup warm-up matches. 3-0, 15 minutes to go to half-time.
Tyrone Mings still receiving treatment, and I'm afraid to say that the stretcher is being carried out there as well, and I think Villa might have to make a change here. I'm just imagining, Pat, that he must have twisted, because Isaac came in, Mings twisted, went down.
Yeah, I think he's not moved his right leg at all. Since he's been down, he's just kept his right leg absolutely static the entire time, so certainly some damage done. And now the first thing we usually think in those situations is knee damage, ACLs, that sort of thing. Let's not hope so. That's not the case for Mings, but I suppose what you have to understand in the Premier League is you need strength and depth, and of course the man who's going to come on for him, you can tell us more about him, John.
Yeah, Pau Torres is coming on. It actually takes me back to the early last season. Do you remember when Steven Gerrard lost Diego Carlos with a really nasty injury? Central defender was out most of the season, but let's hope for much better than that for Tyrone Mings. But Pau Torres, yes, is coming on. I think many expected him to be in the starting lineup. Great reputation, this Spanish defender, signed from Unai Emery's former club Villarreal for just over £30 million, and this will be his competitive debut for his new club. Tall, dark-haired, central defender, so he will slot straight in there. At times pre-season, Villa have played with 3 central defenders, but Unai Emery going with the defence that ended last season to start this season. So Digne at left back and Pau Torres on the bench. But they're taking great care with the England defender Tyrone Mings. This is right away over on the far side, where the east stand is close to the Leazes end, and the medical people are lifting him very carefully onto the stretcher down there. So we'll have a substantial stoppage as well. We've played 28 minutes, but under the new regulations, all of this, of course, will be added on at the end of the first half.
There's a real understanding, John, from the Newcastle players as well. When the ball went out, they were trying to get all the medical staff on as well, because you kind of know when a player just goes down in a certain way and then doesn't move. You know, as I've often said before, players who are really injured don't roll about. They stay still, and they did stay stock still for the entirety of the time that it was down. Then the ball went out of play, and even then he didn't want to move at all, because I think he knew himself he'd done some serious damage to his something anyway on his right leg.
I must say, Pat, I've not seen it again on the screen here. I might have missed it, but you know, that's never a good sign when it's not being shown again on the screens in the ground. And Tyrone Mings now is on the stretcher, and you can hear the applause. The Villa fans way up in the at the Leazes end, they're all applauding. So many applauding around the ground as well. You know, no one wants to see this sight. First game of the season. As I say, so much optimism, so much hope. What Villa might be able to do this season, and this does not look like you know, a minor injury to Tyrone Mings.
It absolutely doesn't. You can hope, and sometimes they are, but when the player stays down, doesn't move, there is definite damage there, and you know, he's holding his head really in his hands. And I think at this point in time, yes, there'll be pain, but they'll also be thinking all the work, all the effort, all the excitement, the build up to the season is coming right in front of us, John.
Yeah, they're carrying the stretcher directly towards us. We can see Tyrone Mings with his hands up across his face. His right leg is in a yellow brace, and both of his hands covering his face as he's turned round and led down the steps and to get the medical treatment that he needs. He's a great guy. I've spoken to him on quite a number of occasions with England and with Aston Villa as well. As I say, got back into the England team at the end of last season, into the England squad, and that's a really bad sight.
Yeah, huge character, huge personality, strong character as well. Even says what he believes in. He's so brave. He won't hang back when he needs to speak out as well, and he's a big part of that Aston Villa, I was going to say team, but the entire club.
So as a result, number 14, Pau Torres, is on to make his debut, playing as the left-sided central defender, the Spanish international, his first taste of the Premier League in England. Newcastle United 2, Aston Villa 1. This is 5 Live. Listen as well via BBC Sounds. This, the start of a new Premier League season.
Digne, by the way, must be yellow. Got to be the new yellow there.
Kick the ball away. Yeah. Digne should have known better.
It wasn't exactly, you're right, it's nearly a kick the ball away. He just stopped the player from picking it up and playing it. So just a little touch, stopped the player. That's the new rules. He got to get used to it. We all know what they are.
Well, he can't say he hasn't been warned. I've had a session this week with the Premier League people who have told us that all of the players, managers, everyone at all of the clubs have been told. Here's Joe Linton on the left-hand side. So that's the first yellow card. And I'm sure there'll be frustration that there are cards for that and perhaps not cards for foul play. But the ball's out of play for a throw-in on the halfway line. Newcastle 2, Aston Villa 1. And we've played 32 minutes, but after the Tyrone Mings injury, there must be a good 5-6 minutes to be added on at the end of this first half.
It has changed the atmosphere, John, hasn't it? And the pace of the game, which was, as we said, 100 mile an hour up on top of that. It's quite common, you know, when players will see a serious injury. It kind of can affect the atmosphere, not only in the ground, but between the players as well.
So Newcastle 2-1 up with the goals from Tonali and Isak. Diaby made it 1-1. The opening stages had chances aplenty, and here is Tonali, who skips away from the challenge. Gordon now on the left-hand side. Gordon plays it back into his own half to Byrne. Joe Linton flicks it forward. Douglas Luiz was able to intercept that. Cash now with a header that bounces back towards the edge of his own penalty area. Cash beats Tonali in the chase, passes it back to Martinez, and Martinez plays it out to Pau Torres, who does very well. Very cool, that. He knew Almiron was coming, and he was able to check inside and take the ball away from Almiron. Villa supporters will have been purring at the sight of that.
Yeah, looked very, very classy there. Extraordinarily left-footed. My first thought was, get him on his right foot.
Here's Bailey on the right-hand side for Villa, into the Newcastle left-back area. Bailey, 2 Newcastle players there. Byrne blocks it, out of play. For a first corner of the match, first corner of the Premier League season, to Aston Villa.
Well, Pau Torres has been on for about 5 minutes and he's not scored yet. He's one of the new players. They always score in this game.
Pressure's on Pau, and corner to be taken from the right-hand side. Luca Digne comes across, has to collect the ball himself from in front of the Gallagate end. Thousands and thousands of people sitting there in their black and white striped shirts. Digne waiting down below to swing this in, which he does now into the 6-yard box. Glancing header across the face of goal by Douglas Luiz, but headed away for Newcastle. Comes out for Villa, attacking towards that Gallagate end. And here is Moussa Diaby on the halfway line, who turns and passes it all the way back. If Moussa Diaby is a new name to you, by the way, Bayer Leverkusen was the club that he was signed for by Aston Villa this summer. Did exceptionally well there, the French international. And he's a creator, he's a goal scorer, and he's already got on the score sheet for Aston Villa on his Premier League debut. Quite a slight figure, short-haired, but he's got the look of a speedster about him. Number 19 on his back. Newcastle passing the ball forward. Here's Gordon, then back towards Bruno Guimaraes, and Tonali plays it back into his own penalty area to Nick Pope. Out to the right-hand side it goes. Cher, right-footed, diagonal over the halfway line. Bounces to Anthony Gordon. Gordon is helped out by Guimaraes, who puts in a good challenge centre field. Guimaraes then turns, spins a pass down the right-hand side, and Trippier couldn't get there. Digne was able to come across and put it out of play for a throw-in 5 or 6 yards away from the corner flag. By the way, the first 6:06 of the new Premier League season on a Saturday night will be with you after the commentary from St James's Park. Might be a little later than you're used to, with all of the added time that there will be, certainly in this match after the Tyrone Mings injury. But Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton will be standing by to take your calls this evening if you've been at any of the matches this afternoon, or whatever you've taken in this afternoon and want to talk about it with Robbie and Chris. I'll tell you in the second half when the lines are open, but you can text 85058 or get in touch, hashtag BBC 606. Here's Gordon for Newcastle on the left-hand side, cutting in field, and then back to Byrne and into the centre circle to Botman, to his central defensive partner Cher, and then to Almiron, who turns and finds space for himself and plays it into Joe Linton, 25 yards out, square from him to Bruno Guimaraes, just outside the Villa penalty area. Gordon back in field again. Bruno Guimaraes makes space, past Camara, now to Isak on the edge of the area. Isak turns in a tight area. Villa defender goes down, he's been fouled by Isak, and it's a free kick to Villa inside their own box. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, but they like working together, Guimaraes and Isak, trying to play nice little neat 1-2s there. But the quality and the creativity in this Newcastle side, we talked about Gordon earlier on, he's not been involved in the game for 10 or 15 minutes, but that's not been his fault. Just ball hasn't come out there. But Almiron, we know that he's got that. We know Guimaraes is a creative player. We know that Isak is not just a goal scorer, he's a brilliant, talented, skillful player as well. So all over the place there are players that want to get forward, who are capable of creating chances and goals.
Villa with the ball inside their own penalty area, ball's played across. Back to Martinez, takes it on his left foot, right-footed ball out to the far side, and Digne can't keep it in. It was at head height. He was given no chance really by the goalkeeper. Cheers from the Newcastle fans, but Newcastle waste possession. There's a slip forward by Bruno Guimaraes, who raises a hand of apology, and it's through for a goal kick. So Newcastle 2, Aston Villa 1. More Premier League commentaries tomorrow. Remember, 5 Live Premier League Sunday. You don't need to go anywhere else on a Sunday afternoon during the Premier League season. And tomorrow it is the little matter of Brentford-Tottenham at 2 o'clock, Chelsea-Liverpool at 4:30, but we'll have all the day's football covered. And indeed now, after England's win at the World Cup in Australia, let me flag up the fact that on Wednesday morning on 5 Live from 11 o'clock, 5 Live is the place where you can listen to Australia-England. If you're at work, if you're out and about on Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock kickoff, Australia-England. It is on 5 Live, the World Cup semi-final, and you'll be able to watch it as well on BBC One or via the iPlayer, if you are able to do that on a work day. So that is Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday night we will be in Greece with Manchester City. Commentary from inside the stadium in Piraeus when Manchester City play Sevilla in the UEFA Super Cup match. So that all to look forward to. But Newcastle here leading by 2-1 as Gordon is fouled by Cash. Now that I make number 3 in terms of Cash fouls on Gordon. and it's only a free kick, Pat Neville.
I hear your surprise, and I'd echo it, because what we've been told this season, if you keep on putting tackles like that and you're not giving the ball, they are clear fouls. The referees will be tempted. I don't think he's got another one. I think the next one will be yellow.
Just think, people will say, well, hang on, look at Dinia's being booked for a tiny little touch on the ball, trying to deflect it from the hands of a Newcastle player, whereas Cash has put in 3 fouls on Gordon and is not yellow carded at all.
Well, fans will say that, but players will feel that terribly as well. But they know the rules. There's certain times that every season they put a little bit, they underline certain fouls, certain sort of transgressions. That's the one just now, so you need to be ready for it.
Free kick to Aston Villa. Douglas Luiz takes it out to the left-hand side. Dinia's ball in, a stretch which doesn't quite get it away from Trippier. Newcastle still struggling to get it away, comes back to Trippier. His chip away, Bailey cuts that out. So Villa still putting pressure on Newcastle down in their defensive third, but eventually Trippier goes long, but the header is won by Douglas Luiz near the halfway line. We'll see if we can, as Matty Cash is fouled by Joe Linton, who was all over him on the halfway line. This time Cash is the man who's fouled, and that's a free kick. Let's get another update from Chris Jones at Twickenham.
A reasonably bright start, John. It's gone very flat here with the constant stoppages that often blight these World Cup warm-up games. Henry Arundel, the young England winger, he's just been yellow carded for a cynical offence. But Wales are without their skipper Dowie Lake. He's gone off injured, and another injury to report just now as well. The England scrum half Jack Van Corkley. Let's hope both injuries aren't too serious. England 3, Wales 0, edging towards half-time.
There'll be lots more, by the way, after that match is finished. The new 5 Live Rugby Union weekly podcast from BBC Sounds. And 3-0 remains the score there. I'm pleased we went to Chris. I've been desperately trying to find that score on my device. Here's Bailey on the right-hand side. Bailey back towards the corner of the penalty area. Square from Diaby, then back to Diaby inside the box. Right foot shot into the side net, and the angle was tight, but he went for goal. Maybe the wrong decision. Watkins waiting in the middle, Pat.
Yeah, you can't blame him. He's less than 6 yards out. He's already scored a goal. He's playing with great confidence just now, but the ease in which he went inside Darnburn, who'd actually switched off there. You can't switch off. I know Bailey is actually your man to mark. If someone runs into your area, you have to make sure that you cover him. Didn't cover him, and Diaby is he's not slow in getting into goal scoring positions, is he? He's coming from a little bit deeper, so he's hard to pick up, and as you mentioned before, he's not slow either.
Well, a Villa fan, one of our colleagues actually, Rory, said to me when they signed him this summer, he said, he'll excite the Villa fans, and the early indications he has, I say, he scored 2 goals pre-season. He gets himself into positions. He's also a creator as well, created 53 chances from open play during his time at Bayer Leverkusen. He could have gone to Saudi Arabia, incidentally, Pat, as well. There was an offer on the table for him to go there, but at 24 years old, Moussa Diaby decided Saudi Arabia no, Premier League yes.
I'm delighted he did that, because there's plenty of time in your career that you can do that later on. Although one day it might not be an end of career destination, Saudi Arabia. We shall see.
Yeah, well, that's an entirely different conversation, isn't it? As the ball bounces up towards the halfway line, comes back for Villa. Douglas Luiz lifts it to McGinn. It's been quite quiet actually in the game. John McGinn, I know you're a big admirer. Here's Gordon playing it forward. I think he's put too much on that. But in saying that, Almiron's trying to get there, and he had to be impeded actually by camera, which meant that Martinez, the Villa goalkeeper, was able to arrive first, volley it downfield, and now Matty Cash has fouled Gordon again on the halfway line. Well, on its own, that certainly wasn't worthy of a yellow card.
No,
but it's another one from Cash on Gordon.
It's nothing much more than a nudge, so yeah, probably not a free kick. But if he kicks him at any point in time again, he's got to be, he absolutely has to be into the book, and the referee's been unusually lenient for the start of this season. We shall see.
And footballers in black and white shirts down there, Pat, with looks of disbelief on their faces that only footballers can, as the ball is played forward for Newcastle. Down the right-hand side, Almiron, well, he's suggesting the final touch was off Dinia as it bounced away through for a goal kick, but that's been given as, he wanted a corner, it's been given as a goal kick.
Yeah. He's also arguing, absolutely suggesting that it was maybe brought down. I don't think there was much in that at all there. Tough one for the referee to call. The assistant referee there, did nothing. Just let him make the call himself.
He's already made one great call, Pat.
He has.
You know,
We'll give him
a break. Great call for the offside that was proved to be correct by VAR. It's clearly a tight one. Newcastle leading 2-1. Newcastle led 1-0 through Tonali. Diaby made it 1-1. Villa coming forward again inside the penalty area. Douglas Luiz goes down sprawling in the box under the challenge. Referee says that was a clean challenge, and Bruno Guimaraes brings it away. Only now Douglas Luiz getting back to his feet, and then Newcastle win a free kick for a challenge by Digne on Isak, 20 yards inside their own half.
It's got a little bit more bittage just now. I mean, certainly since the injury, it's got a little bit more bitty. Couple of free kicks. However, we have got not surprising number.
10 minutes, you heard it there. That's how things are going to be. Wherever they can, just in case you haven't picked up on this, the advice this season to the officials is, and this comes from IFAB, who set the laws of the game, so it's something that the Premier League have had to do. You know, they can't say we might do it. That's come right from the top, from the lawmaker. So that is why this is happening. And all possible time is being added on. So it is 10 minutes at the end of the first half, but most of that was for that nasty looking injury to Tyrone Mings. Let's hope it's not anywhere near as bad as it looked for the former Villa captain, as Bruno Guimaraes, centre field, plays the ball back to Cher. Now over the halfway line to Trippier, to the right hand side to the Paraguayan Almiron, and then back in field towards the silky Italian Tonali, and then back to the halfway line for Newcastle as they start again. So we've played almost 2 minutes of added time at the end of the first half. Gordon playing the ball in, Joe Linton, then back to Dan Burn, and Newcastle keeping possession now. I just do not think it's had the same intensity. I mean, it's certainly had its moments since the Tyrone Mings injury, but it definitely affected play, Pat, as you suggested.
Yes, it has, definitely.
Here's Gordon on the left-hand side. Gordon up against Bailey, plays it infield as the challenge comes in. Referee plays the advantage. Almiron just outside the box, turns with his left foot, gives it to Trippier. Gordon lost a boot in that, I think. But play continues on the right-hand side, slipped into the box. It might run all the way to the edge of the area. Villa struggling to clear, and Konsa in the end just has to rather desperately howk it up in the air. Ball still around the edge of the penalty area. It's chipped across from the right-hand side, but Trippier got underneath it, sliced it, and it was an easy catch for the Argentine World Cup winning goalkeeper Martinez.
Do you know what? Tonali is everywhere, isn't he? More often than not, the furthest forward player in that Newcastle side. If the ball is played wide, he gets into that box time and time again. He was ahead of Isak there. He's very unlucky the ball didn't drop to him. Hence why I wasn't jumping in the back of the Pirlo suggestion. Not quite as far forward a player.
Ball behind Gordon runs out of play for a throw-in near the halfway line. Just to go back to the point, you know, having played in San Siro, in that brilliant football stadium, I mean, what a lucky boy, having experienced all of that for the club that he supported. Now to come here, new country, but before the match, just to see what it was like, truly, for a match like this, a Premier League match inside St James's Park. I know he played pre-season, so we'll have a bit of an idea. And then to score in the 6th minute of his Premier League debut in the way that he did. I mean, it's stuff of dreams, really, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I was at the first leg of the Milan-Inter game in the San Siro in the semi-final of the Champions League, and that was one of the most incredible atmospheres. And he must have thought, I'm leaving all this behind. Well, he gets something not bad in return. And the news, of course, I don't know whether you heard, Pat, it sounds like San Siro's got a stay of execution. A stay of execution is the very phrase which I think football fans will warmly recommend. Here is McGinn. To the left-hand side to Digne. The Gallagher end, raising the volume again. But Villa in possession. Eddie Howe's black and white army, that's the chant. And Eddie Howe down below us in his black hoodie, watching on, making out as though he can't hear this, but that must make a manager very proud when he hears that. Some Newcastle managers have never had anything like that. Here's Tonali on the right-hand side. Left-footed ball, cross field to Gordon. Oh, and then Gordon
miscontrols it. That's almost the first thing that he's done wrong, Anthony Gordon, in this first half. Got it all wrong. But the Newcastle fans, whenever you see football supporters in big stadiums, well, in small stadiums as well, come to watch the new signing, the new big money signing, there's always the hope, isn't there, that he's going to be something really, really special. And when Tonali was on the ball there, you could hear the reaction from the stands, couldn't you?
And it was a beautiful 50-yard and lovely to look at cross ball that he played over there. It wasn't taken well by Gordon, but to be honest, it was a hard take. He was going backwards. Into the Bradley here. Newcastle don't agree with the assistant referee on that occasion, but you know, at this point in time, you just wonder if Newcastle would take 2-1 now, get to half-time and regroup.
Botman put the ball out of play. Suggestion was that it had come off Watkins and that it should have been a Newcastle throw, but it went Villa's way. Played 5 minutes at the end of this first half. 10 minutes have been indicated, and that's because of a serious-looking injury to Tyrone Mings during the first half, after which he was stretchered off. Villa, well, it's given away by Bailey. Passed it straight to Isak, and the Newcastle number 14 is straight off. Tried to slip it through to Almiron, but I think there was a little touch from Konza in there actually, which just took it away from Almiron, and Martinez was able to sprint forward and clear it away for Aston Villa.
So I think Isak feels as if he's let his teammate down there. I think that ball was on there. Had he played another yard or two ahead, I don't think Almiron was being caught.
Here is Diaby again, speeds away through the middle, passes the ball to Watkins on the edge of the penalty area. Challenge comes in from Byrne. It's a clean one, says the referee. Thought it might have been given as a foul, but no. Now Isak for Newcastle, still inside his own half. He's able to find Trippier on the far side. Isak takes it on past one man. Might have been fouled by Pau Torres. No, says the referee. The home crowd don't like that either. Eddie Howe appealing for it. Ball played towards the edge of the penalty area. Watkins is after this. Watkins has got it in the Newcastle right back area, into the area on his right foot. In comes Bruno Guimaraes. The ball bounces free. Douglas Luiz with a shot that's deflected right across the edge of the penalty area. Villa again with Cash just outside the box. Villa searching here for another equaliser in added time at the end of the first half. Newcastle clear it. Botman headed it away. Cash might have been fouled there. He was, says the referee. Just a little trip from Bruno Guimaraes, and the Newcastle fans feel that Cash, who they think should have been yellow carded for a number of fouls in the first half, has made a meal of that and won a free kick that he shouldn't have got. What do you think, Pat?
I'm fully behind the Newcastle fans in that one. I think he was completely out of the play, and he knew that he wasn't going to get back. The ball was above his head and he threw himself to the ground, managed to get the free kick, and the referee hasn't actually got much wrong today. He's done very, very well. He's let the game flow because it was a very fast game for that first half an hour. It's delicate for the referees just now. They want the excitement to keep on going, but they've been told that, you know, they have to get that yellow card out for quite a few more reasons than they did before.
So free kick to Villa. Douglas Luiz takes it over the top of the Newcastle defence. Digne plays it in, but it was out of play. It bounced out of play before Digne crossed it. So it's a goal kick to Newcastle. So the score, if you've just switched on to us on 5 Live, on this first Saturday night of the new Premier League season, Newcastle United leading Aston Villa by 2-1. All 3 goals came in the first 16 minutes. Oh, Martinez out of his penalty area has committed a foul there. Almiron got a touch past him, and it's a yellow card. Now it was way out on the right wing. Martinez was way out of his penalty area. Almiron touched it round him. Martinez came out and tugged back Almiron, and referee Madley, the question was, should it have been a red card for that foul? But the referee has decided only yellow. That's a big call.
It is a big call, and I can bet your bottom dollar they'll be checking that in match of the day tonight. I think Tonali's got a yellow card for complaining about it as well. But by the letter of the law, I think the referee's got it right. There were 2, maybe even 3 players back, covering behind the goalkeeper. Yes, they were not goalkeepers. However, and the players will feel, and the fans will feel, that's against the spirit. But the whole idea is, if you're taking out the play there and ground back in that situation, and there are 2 or 3 players, you in the ball, in the goal, it's a yellow, not a red.
And you reckon that Tonali was there were 3 Newcastle players?
Yeah, there was plenty of defenders back there between the ball and the goal. Well, it'll be very difficult.
We'll check that at half-time as well. I've got more apps to open here than I know what to do with, so I think I'm just going to concentrate on the action. Free kick on the right-hand side. Newcastle way into added time. This is the 10th minute of added time at the end of the first half. Trippier plays it in, back post header from Byrne, goes high over the top of the crossbar and bounces behind and boos because Martinez is going to be touching the ball here again. Just to underline this, Martinez came well out of his penalty area into the full-back position almost. Yeah. Well, actually beyond that. It was way out on the far side. Almiron touched it past him. He was took back. It was a foul. But the point you're making, Pat, was that even though that was the goalkeeper that committed that foul, there were defenders back inside the penalty area, and that's why it was only a yellow card, not a red. Yeah,
by the letter of law, and I do underline that, by the letter of the footballing law, the referee's got it right. But morally, you don't feel it is right because the goalkeeper is the one who's basically rugby tackled your forward.
And now Martinez, who as we know is one of football's great wind-up merchants, takes an absolute age to take the goal kick, so all of that will be added on as well. But the Newcastle fans feeling that having already got a yellow card, he is on thin ice if he's taking that amount of time to take a goal kick. Couldn't possibly show him a second yellow card, could he, for time wasting? As Gordon is tripped by Camara, and that's a free kick to Newcastle 10 yards inside their own half. And Andy Madley says only a free kick. No yellow card.
Well, it's Camara. He's not had so many. I mean, had that free kick been made by Cash, that would have been a yellow card. But I mean, Gordon is very good at buying free kicks and leaving his legs in the way. That was not the case there. He was taken out of the play. He'd gone past Camara very, very easily there. And what Gordon needs to do is try and get the ball in the final third. He's getting it really too far back. And referees are wary of getting a yellow card out, that far back. If you do it in the final third, attacking the play, then you'll get a yellow card to the defender.
Trippier takes the free kick forward, and finally the whistle goes for the end of the first half. You can tell that Newcastle United supporters are less than impressed with the performance of Andy Madley and his officials, so they will be booed off. You'll hear about that. But what's that, nearly 12 minutes of added time at the end of the first half. This is the new normal, Pat, but it was an eventful first half.
It was. I mean, certainly the first half of the first half was superb. Newcastle players are also in the referee, which I suggest they should not do. No, even though the game is finished here for the first half, John.
They've been told about this as well, that no more than 2 players should be going to the referee, and Kieran Trippier, as the captain, now he is allowed to, as the captain, he is the player who was sending away his teammates and speaking to Andy Madley himself.
Yeah, so I mean, the real danger there of getting more yellow cards out. The referee's no choice. He has to do that. He knows what the new ruling is. But both captains actually just chatted to the referee on the way off there. Certainly a talking point that end of the half there, the possibility of the argument for a sending off. I suspect by the letter of the law that it shouldn't have been the case. But the first part of that game there was breathless and brilliant and exciting. And don't be surprised if it starts the second half that way as well. I certainly hope it does, John.
So the best acts, Tonali and Isak scoring for Newcastle. Diaby on his debut for Aston Villa. That made it 1-1 for a time. But at half-time, Newcastle United 2, Aston Villa 1. And 5 Live Sport presenters are going to have to get used to waiting patiently for half-time whistles, I sense, this season. Steve Crossman, don't you?
Always patient, John. Thank you very much. From a raucous St James's to Twickenham. Let's hear how that sounds. England-Wales in the World Cup warm-up. Chris Jones.
Well, the fans here have needed to be patient, Steve. England 6, Wales 0. A few boos around Twickenham as Owen Farrell opted to take the points just on half-time. It's been pretty uninspiring stuff. Constant errors have made for an extremely stop-start game so far. What's worse is both teams have suffered injuries. Dowie Lake for Wales, the captain and hooker, and England scrum half Jack Van Poortvliet. We'll wait to see how serious they are, and let's hope both teams have more to offer in France next month. England 6, Wales 0 on half-time.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. Right, let's go through the Premier League scores this afternoon. Arsenal beat Nottingham Forest by 2-1, including a Bukayo Saka screamer. It finished Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1, Dominic Solanke cancelling out Thomas Souček's goal. Brighton beat Luton by 4-1. João Pedro scored on his Brighton debut, and Carlton Morris got Luton's first top-flight goal since 1992. Fulham won by 1-0 at Everton thanks to Bobby De Cordova-Reid, and Odsonne Edouard scored for Crystal Palace as they won 1-0 at Sheffield United. In the EFL this afternoon, 97th minute Adam Armstrong penalty made it Southampton 4, Norwich 4 at St Mary's. Leeds United also on the wrong end of a late penalty themselves. Lukas Jutkovic earning Birmingham a 1-0 win in front of Tom Brady at St Andrews. Middlesbrough were beaten 3-0 at Coventry. Leicester won by 1-0 at Huddersfield. Usan Tufan got a hat-trick for Hull City in their 4-2 win over Sheffield Wednesday, and Ipswich's first home game back in the Championship ended in a 2-0 win over Stoke. In League One, Portsmouth won 4-0 at newly promoted Leyton Orient. Derby and Bolton were 3-0 winners at Burton and Cheltenham respectively. And in League Two, Newport the big winners, 4-0 over Doncaster Rovers. Wrexham drew 1-1 at Wimbledon. Notts County got their first win since returning to the Football League. They beat Grimsby Town by 3-2. In Scotland this afternoon, finished Rangers 4, Livingston 0. Ross County beat St Johnstone by 2-0, and it's 2 wins from 2 at the start of the season. For St Mirren, they beat Dundee by 2-1. To golf, let's get the latest news from the final women's major of the year, the AIG Women's Open at Walton Heath. It's the third round, and correspondent Ian Carter is watching.
Joint leaders now, because Angel Yin just birdieing the 16th after birdieing the 15th to move to 8 under par, and alongside her American compatriot, the overnight leader by 5, Ali Ewing, who struggled today, 2 over par for the 13 holes that she's completed so far, so dropping back from 10 under to 8 under par. Those two are 1 clear of Lilia Vu, the winner of the Chevron Championship earlier this year. As for Britain's Charlie Hull, she's just 3 putted the 14th, so that has dropped her back to 6 under par. She's 2 shots off the lead.
In the 100, Trent Rockett's women beat London Spirit by 5 wickets. Spirit's men's side then edged their encounter by 2 runs at Sophia Gardens, the double-header between Welsh Fire and Southern Brave. Let's get the latest from Charlie Taylor.
Yes, the men's game now after Southern Brave won a very tight game earlier on today in the women's competition. But right now it's been a disastrous start for the home side. Welsh Fire men are 21 for 3. The 3 wickets are Johnny Bairstow, Joe Clark and captain Tom Abel, who went for the combined total of just 1 run. At the moment, Stevie Eskenazi is there on 14 not out. It's Craig Overton doing the damage. He's picked up 2 wickets, including that of his Somerset captain Tom Abel. But as it stands, Southern Brave well on top. Now they're 22 for 3 Welsh Fire, 28 balls in.
As St Helens beat Leeds Rhinos in the first ever Women's Challenge Cup final at Wembley to seal their 3rd consecutive win in the competition. Sorry, it's the first time that the men's and women's final have been held together. Lee Leopards won in the men's final, their first Challenge Cup title for 52 years after they edged out Hull KR on golden point extra time. And England's women's team are into a World Cup semi-final. They will face Australia on Wednesday. We'll bring you full commentary. You might want to talk about that on 606 with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton. The lines are open. Get your calls in right now. 08085 909 693. Let's get the news now on 5 Live with Stuart Clarkson.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you. Good evening. A search operation is continuing for people thought to be missing in the Channel after a boat carrying migrants sank as it tried to reach England. The French authorities say they're still looking for 2 people. 6 people died and dozens more were pulled from the water. The former Tory Cabinet Minister David Davis has accused the Home Office of staggering incompetence for allowing asylum seekers onto a barge in Dorset that's since been evacuated. Legionella bacteria was found in the Bibi Stockholm's water system. The number of people known to have died in wildfires in Hawaii has now reached 80. The figure is expected to rise in the coming days. The authorities say they're launching a review of their response to the fires on Maui. And Amazon has started releasing some sellers' funds back to them after many UK and EU sellers complained of money being held unexpectedly. The change in policy comes after the BBC reported it had led to some sellers' businesses being on the verge of collapsing.
He's a rule breaker, a trendsetter. He reshaped art and redefined graffiti.
How does he smell?
Like paint.
Has he got any distinguishing features?
His anonymity. But who is he?
What's his name?
Banksy.
Apparently I've met him twice.
The Banksy story. Banksy's work is always about the human spirit versus the establishment. Listen first on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport with Steve Crossman.
On 5 Live. Listen on BBC Sounds.
We have got Marco Silva, Sean Dyche and Luton captain Tom Lockyer on the way on 5 Live Sport. Full commentary later of Anthony Joshua's, I want to say big fight, Steve Bunce, but it's been all changed in the last few days.
It's not a big fight in a sense. It's not a World Championship fight, and it's not against a household name, maybe not even in Finland where he's from, over Hellenius, the new opponent, but it is still a big fight. And by a big fight, I mean it's an AJ week, Crossman, Steve-O, let me tell you, and that takes over the capital. He's back at the O2. He's not been here for 7 years. It's going to be taking place at about 10:20 tonight. There will be 17,500 people in here. It will be packed. It's an event. It's AJ, and it's the pit stop. The next stop is January, Deontay Wilder. We will be in Saudi. Tonight, AJ will do the business, and he might look like the AJ we saw 7 years ago back here.
Always a big fight when AJ is involved. Always a big fight when Steve Bunce is involved. Full commentary of that later tonight on 5 Live. Let's get some reactions to the 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League. Fulham started their season with a 1-0 win at Everton. Here's manager Marco Silva.
Probably the draw could be the deserved result, I have to say. Not problem for me to say that, but it's good to have the feeling that you can win football match even if you don't perform at our level. And we didn't perform, even so the togetherness, the attitude, the commitment was there inside. We knew before the match that will be a tough match for us in terms of physical point of view, because we are not at the level that we should be to start the Premier League, regarding all the problems we had the pre-season.
Debut for Raul Jimenez up top. What did you make of how he did?
Okay, nothing different than what I expect. Experienced Premier League striker, he knows everything. He needs more time to adapt for what we want. He's much more mobile than normal. The player we play there, Mitro or Vinicius, they are much more a number 9 profile leading. Raul is much more mobile, sometimes out of the position, trying to find other spaces behind the full backs as well. We know he had his chance, good strike off the post. It could be a good moment for him to have his debut scoring for Fulham. But overall he did well. Of course, striker needs to team provide for him much more. First half we didn't provide enough for him, and of course it was more difficult for him to be more on the game.
So that's Marco Silva. Here's Sean Dyche.
It's a bizarre one to me. I don't know why that's not given. The keeper clearly, there's no deliberate impeding from our player. He's just literally stood his ground. The keeper takes it above his head, drops on top of him and drops it on his head. I mean, I don't know what he's meant to do about it. He can't do anything about it, quite obviously. So very frustrated with that. For me, I'm not sure I'll find out whether the ref gives it VAR, but for me that's what VAR's there for, is to turn over them decisions, because I can't believe that one.
To somehow you coming across, you seem frustrated but encouraged. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I'm only frustrated with the outcome, because the performance is very good. You work pre-season to give a performance like that. Any frustration, in amongst the stadium, at the end of the day, if we win that 1 or 2-0, I don't think there is any frustration. I think they go, yeah, a dominant performance and a very good performance, especially on the chance count. And that's what's important in football, is creating chances and taking them. We've got to add in the taking them bit.
Sean Dyche there on Michael Keane's disallowed goal. Luton Town were beaten 4-1 by Brighton in their first game back in the top flight. Here's their captain, Tom Lockyer.
Last season we went after every team. We we didn't sit off anyone. And then you come away to Brighton here, you can't do that. It's you have to show them the respect they deserve. They don't end up in Europe by mistake today. So we had to show them the respect they deserve, and we were in the game, and it's 2 incredibly soft penalties.
That was a changing point, though, wasn't it? Because Brighton get that second and they get a third, and the game was away from you then, effectively.
Yeah. The second one, it does hurt, and then obviously it evens itself out a little bit with this soft one as well. So we were in it then, and then the third goal. That's just what you can't do in this league. You might be able to get away with that last year, might make a save or hit the post or something, but once they got that third, then it was. We had to then chase it a lot, change formation, got a bit ragged, and they're good enough to find the spaces and create a lot more chances. So after that we were a lot more open, and when you're chasing a game here, it's always going to be tough.
That's Tom Lockyer. 08085 909 693. The lines are open for 606, and I've got a smiling Cheshire cat, Chris Sutton, sitting next to me.
That's a grimace. You're getting that
mixed
up with the grimace.
That's a grimace, sorry.
Steve. No, delighted to be here and see you in person.
Yeah, no, it feels very strange.
We don't see a lot of each other.
Say again?
We don't see a lot of each other, do we?
Is that because you've told people you don't want to be in my presence?
No, I quite like you.
Oh, fine. Well, no, because I have it on my rider not to have you within 5
Well, you've got
metres.
a rider. You're not the only one at the BBC who has a rider.
Sorry, Robbie. I feel like you might be feeling left out. My bad.
Don't worry, Steve. You've only been on for 5 hours. Give us a bit of a tray, will you? We got a show to plug. Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
Carry on.
Oh, yeah, don't
I
worry.
just assumed it would be 2 hours about your son scoring a goal.
Christopher, Everton losing at home. Not a great start for Sean Dyche.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Everton of last season, isn't it? No Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think if he gets fit and stays fit, Everton will be fine. But if you're an Everton fan, you're really frustrated with that today. And want to hear from Everton fans, what did they think about the disallowed goal from Michael Keane? I didn't think there was anything wrong with the goal, Rob. What did you think?
Well, I was at Port Vale.
Oh, so you didn't see it. That's good.
To see
Good prep.
know. So that's why I've got you here today. What about Brighton, Chris? You know, losing players. What a win! What a start!
What a job he's done. De Zerbi, looks like they've lost Casado. That's not quite done to Chelsea. Here's one for you. So Liverpool break the British transfer record to sign Casado. Then he says he wants to go to Chelsea. If you're Liverpool, I mean, you've got to be unhappy about that. They should just say, right, we're not signing you now. What do Liverpool fans think about that? And Casado's got previous, hasn't he, of messing up deals. He messed up one, I think it was to Arsenal, didn't he? But, let's hear from Liverpool fans about that. Luton, sobering afternoon for Luton, however good Brighton were. I think they're down, Robin. Here's another one. Sheffield United. OK, what is the point of coming up? Your manager's done a brilliant job, Paul Heckingbottom. What is the point of coming up, selling your best players and then not adding to the squad? I think they've had it as well. I know there's 3 weeks of the window left, but
just signed Gustavo Hamer from Coventry.
Chris. Well, they haven't made enough sign. They lost Ndiaye.
Yep.
They lost Billy Sharp, who is getting on a bit. Granted, Sanderberg went to Burnley, but they have to back Paul Heckingbottom and give themselves a chance, because if they get off to a bad start, then, I suspect that the team will, lose a bit of confidence. Let's hear from Sheffield United fans. Yeah. The blades are blunt.
Well, that was 2 minutes of Chris Sutton talking to himself. I hope I get a word in edgeways. 08085 909 693.
What about Harry Kane, Rob? What about Harry Kane?
We've got to go back to
John
John
Murray. I want to hear from Spurs fans on Harry Kane left under a bit of a cloud, did he?
Hello? John Murray, you there?
Oh, wow.
Hello, Robbie. Yes, it's
hello, John.
It's quite loud here. Hello, Chris. If that's you, it is you, isn't it?
Yep. That is me, John, unfortunately.
Good. Well, how lovely to hear from you for the first time in the Premier League season. It's always a delight.
Likewise.
It feels like the season is here now, having heard your lovely voices, and we'll hear much more of Robbie and Chris's lovely voices again later in the evening. Once we're done here, there might be 20 minutes time added on at the end of this match, so be patient, everyone. Pat Nevins with me here, and it looks as though there's going to be another change at the start of the second half. Newcastle leading Aston Villa by 2-1, and Pat, there hasn't been a change yet, has there?
No, Tielemans is going to come on, but who Tielemans is going to come on for, we're going to find out any second now.
There we are, and it is Leon Bailey.
Kind of harsh on Bailey. I thought he'd done quite well.
Yeah, I just wonder whether he feels that against Tonali and Guimaraes and Joe Linton, that Douglas Luiz and Camara need a bit of help in there.
Yeah, well, we did talk a lot about the fact that the power that Newcastle midfield has was probably winning the day in there. So, yeah, a little bit more physicality in there now.
So there we are. That's Aston Villa's second change after they had to make the substitution in the first half. We've not heard any more about Tyrone Mings, incidentally, but I'm sure he'll be getting the best of medical treatment.
I have heard a little bit. He's not gone straight to hospital. He's still downstairs in the stadium. That's one fairly decent sign, and it was his right knee, absolutely specifically his right knee. But the fact that he's not been taken straight to hospital is one little hope.
So we treat that as a
fairly
positive.
One positive. Yeah.
Well, let's hope that is the case. Tyrone Mings stretched it off in the first half. So Yuri Tielemans is on, having been relegated with Leicester City last season. Yuri Tielemans, a free transfer from Leicester City, and now he is on to make his debut. So all three of the big summer signings for Aston Villa, Diaby started the match, scored a goal, and Pau Torres and Tielemans have both come on as substitutes. Second half underway.
Change of shape as well for Aston Villa. They're playing a 4-2-3-1 now. McGinn's getting a little bit further forward. He was playing the left hand side, had no effect in the game in the first half. Much better from the right.
Newcastle, as they started with Pope in goal, Trippier, Schär, Botman and Byrne, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton, and then Almiron, Isak and Gordon. Tonali and Isak, the Newcastle goal scorers, and Aston Villa now Martinez, Cash, Konza, Pau Torres and Digne, Camara and Louise, Diaby, McGinn, Tielemans and Ollie Watkins, as Tonali is upended by Tielemans. That's his first contribution in a claret and blue Villa shirt. And no free kick. Good tackle, says referee Madley, who was booed off at half-time. Ball on the right-hand side with Diaby, who goes for the back heel, but back heels it straight into the path of Joe Linton. A little flick of his own, and then Gordon does very, very well there. And as he takes the ball away, he's brought down by Matty Cash. And finally, St James's Park rejoices because a yellow card comes out and is shown to Matty Cash, the Villa right back, for I think his sixth,
at least fifth.
At least
you know
fifth
what?
Foul on
He
Gordon.
actually had the cheek to look surprised when the whole place cheered with irony here, because everybody knew what was coming as soon as that was the most obvious, yellow card that you're ever going to see in your life.
Newcastle coming forward. Digne might have fouled Bruno Guimaraes there, but referee Madley plays the advantage. By the way, the Newcastle player booked shortly before half-time was Sven Botman, not Tonali, for dissent when several players were around the referee. Bruno Guimaraes does well here, wins a corner for Newcastle and raises his arms, telling the Gallagate end to make even more noise. Newcastle 2-1 up, but they know here that a third goal and to open up a 2-goal advantage would be a big thing here at St James's Park. Corner from the right, Trippier to take this. Newcastle fans on their feet over the other side of the hoardings. Trippier plays it into Botman, then back to Trippier. Tonali's ball in, that's volleyed away by Watkins. And Trippier just down in front of us, the Newcastle captain, just keeps the ball in play. That's the applause you can hear of Unai Emery in his black Aston Villa tracksuit, playing the ball down the line. Newcastle. Tonali, I think, might have shoved Digne in the back as he fell off the pitch, and the referee, the assistant, actually flagged for that. It is a free kick to Aston Villa. Pat Nevin.
His energy levels have been ridiculous so far, Tonali, haven't they? I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, the old-fashioned, up and down the field, attacking, defending, do the whole role of the entire midfield. Referees miffed with some of the time wasting going on just now. You wouldn't know why Digne would waste time just now. Team are 2-1 down.
Digne, who's already been booked in the match for time wasting, incidentally.
Anyway, mention on top of that, the person to look out for is Martinez. Martinez is, I think, has been wasting a wee bit too much time in this game as well. And remember, he is very much on a yellow card.
Yes, that was one of the controversial incidents of the first half. You'll be able to see that on Match of the Day tonight. Villa coming forward. Matty Cash absolutely steaming down the right wing, but then finds Dan Byrne in his path, so perhaps wisely checks back, and Villa go back towards the halfway line. What is an absolute guarantee, by the way, Match of the Day tonight, I'll tell you what will be on that programme, unless I'm very much mistaken. Alan Shearer will be analysing Sandro Tonali.
Yeah. And he should be, because he's absolutely everywhere just now. No one likes a good centre-forward story, but he has been a big part of the story today.
If that doesn't happen, Pat, my BBC Sport letter of resignation will be on your desk on Monday morning. Ball is played away for Newcastle by Trippier. Now, over the halfway line with Almiron, who plays the ball behind Isak. Isak square to Gordon. Gordon then back to Almiron in the box. His ball across the 6-yard box evades the right leg of Isak. Tonali's kept it in though. Tonali's cross. Gordon with the shot, but diving down to his left, Martinez allowed it to run wide. He was trying to get there because it took a deflection, actually, the Gordon shot, And it's a corner to Newcastle from the right. Lovely move, Newcastle.
That break was what could only be described as scintillating. The pace of it from Almiron, the understanding from Gordon, the brilliance of the ball in. I mean, you could watch that all day long. Any team in the world played that sort of attacking play, you'd be delighted to watch it. That deserved a goal.
52,207 the attendance. Corner for Newcastle into the edge of the 6-yard box. It's come off a Villa head in the end. Konza, I think it was. There are tennis doubles style low fives taking place in there. Deflected it over the top, so it's another Newcastle corner from the right.
I don't know how much you knew about it, John. I think he was shocked that it went over.
Trippier then, second consecutive corner from the right. Newcastle are winning 2-1 if you just switched onto us on 5 Live. First Saturday of this Premier League season. Trippier swings it in, and it is headed wide under pressure. Botman was in there, and it was Botman who got the touch to head it well wide and behind. Also, lines are open for 606. If you've just switched on, you can join in the conversation. 08085 909 693 and book your call. Now, this is what Pat Nevin was talking about. It's a goal kick for Aston Villa. Martinez is on a yellow card. Referees have been told to be tight and clamp down on players' time wasting. You've called it, Pat. That is going to be a subject in this second half.
And by the way, the Newcastle fans have noticed it as well. They're on the right go as well.
Mind you, the point should be made. Villa are losing in the match. Doesn't benefit them to waste time. Here's Cash as Villa play it out from the back. Gordon puts in a sliding challenge on Cash, which it was a poor challenge, and it's a yellow card for Gordon. So both of them now yellow carded. That's been tussle of the match.
It has been, and for Gordon, he can't really complain too much. He's been fouled 5 or 6 times with the same player. He's fouled him back once. Because he's a striker, you would think he gets a yellow card, but it was an unnecessary challenge. It was a striker's tackle, and he didn't get anywhere near the ball.
The England-Wales match continues at Twickenham, the World Cup warm-up game, and it was 6-0 to England last I saw. Here's Diaby for Villa on the right-hand side. Does well, wriggles out of 2 challenges. Still going, Diaby comes across field from right to left, gives the ball to Digne on the left-hand side, then infield towards Douglas Luiz, and Camara is able to play it out towards the right-hand side. And it is now England 9, Wales 3. That's the latest score at Twickenham. We'll have more on that in due course. Villa still in possession. Tielemans turns it to Pau Torres, who carries the ball forward. That is very much part of his game, what he did with Villarreal for Unai Emery. Now it finds its way to Digne. Cross from the left-hand side, and that is sliced behind by Cher for a corner to Villa from the left. Very good period of play from Aston Villa.
And I would suggest their first good period of play, maybe. In this second half, they've been pinned back by Newcastle, who started this second half the way they started the first half. And that's their first real break there, and it was considered. They took their time and got a good cross in and final a corner kick.
Corner from the left. Digne to take this, left-footed. In it goes to the near post, and a header wide by the arriving Camara. Didn't get anywhere near on target, 4 or 5 yards wide of the near post as he arrived at pace. So Newcastle leading Aston Villa by 2-1. More from Twickenham now with Chris Jones.
As you say, John, score is England 9, Wales 3, 15 minutes into the second half. England did put some semi-decent rugby together. Ollie Lawrence making a good burst, but conceded a penalty just when they needed to strike. England yet to score a try in August. England 9, Wales 3, 55 minutes gone.
Free kick to Villa, foul on Konza in the centre circle. And this is not the end of the live sport on 5 Live tonight. Oh no, because we will, after 10 o'clock this evening, we will be on air with the Anthony Joshua fight, live from the O2 in London, with Ron McIntosh and George Groves and Steve Bunce with the commentary. Jeanette Quatchi will be presenting. That is from 10 o'clock. You'll hear it on 5 Live. Another of our many and varied venues for sport and commentary this weekend. Here is Botman at the back for Newcastle, black and white striped shirts. Out to Byrne, high ball from him, rather hopeful, but Isak's chasing it, and then he's adjudged. No, he hasn't. He's allowed to play on. Isak shoots. Martinez makes the save. The offside flag is up here. The assistant is flagging, and the referee now has spotted it and gives it. And the goal, if Isak had been able to put it into the net, would not have stood.
Yeah, it was a strange one. That everybody in the ground could see the flag up there. The referee let it play on for quite some time. Very noticeable so far in the game. You talk about Alan Shearer talking about it. There's been a couple of good heading opportunities for Aston Villa. I mean, that one there just a few minutes before from Kamara. I mean, Alan Shearer would say, well, that's a nodding for him. That's an easy one for him. And remember, Douglas Luiz had one in the first half as well. So Villa have had their chances.
They have. Newcastle's very, very tight defence actually begun to leak, if you remember, towards the end of last season, but they still ended up with the joint best defensive record in the Premier League last season, along with Manchester City. Newcastle win a free kick halfway inside their own half, just a little foul on Joe Linton, so a free kick that Botman will take. So 2-1 Newcastle lead. If you remember, towards the end of last season, Newcastle lost 3-0 at Villa Park. That was their heaviest defeat of the season. Newcastle beat Villa 4-0 here. That was the last match before Emery properly took charge. Gordon slipping the ball forward into the penalty area. Konsa has lost out to Isak. Isak dinks it in. Beautiful finish to make it 3-1 Newcastle. Konsa caught out and Isak did the rest. But how delightful that was. 3-1 Newcastle.
A classic dink when he's under pressure there. I mean, he pushes. Aston Villa are complaining that they think there's a foul in the build-up. Of course, they're going to check that, but he wins it. He's just a little bit stronger. He doesn't look the strongest player, but he's a little bit stronger there. Gets to the ball faster, checking for offside. I don't think it is offside, but it's about whether he actually drags back the defender there. I think that would be harsh on him. But the beauty of the dink at the end there. Again, he scores some great goals and he has some great pieces of skill. I don't think that's going to be chopped off. I think that's a goal, and not only a goal, a great goal.
We're seeing it again, and yes, the goal stands, and it's a 2-goal start for Newcastle's club record signing, Alexander Isak, on the first day of the Premier League season. It was quite a big call, you know, Eddie Howe. Callum Wilson on the bench for this match, and Isak in the starting lineup. Well, that's backed up the manager's decision, and he took the ball away from Konsa as clean as a whistle, as far as I can see on the replay that we've seen.
I would agree with that, and I think Konsa, I think he lost control of the ball behind him, and because his willingness to chase everything, if you think about it, Isak has not had a lot of the ball this afternoon or this evening, but he's chased everything, he hasn't stopped, he's run himself into the ground, just hoping, like a good centre forward, that moment will arrive, or those moments, and they have.
So confirmation, Newcastle United 3, Aston Villa 1, and now Villa have to respond. 2 goals behind. The third goal, as Douglas Luiz tries a shot from distance, but that's blocked inside the penalty area. Bounces back for Newcastle on the edge of their own box. And with this scoreline, well, it will be a winning start for Newcastle on what could be quite a season for them again. Almiron playing it through to Isak, who's in for his hat-trick. Right foot finish, straight into the goalkeeper. Might have been offside. Flag stayed down, but he wasn't able to convert in any case.
They cannot stop the pace. I mean, Almiron's pace is scary there for any defender, and he's just leaving danger for dead time and time again. Isak again making all the running, got himself into a good position. I suspect he was just onside, he was right in front of us, but there wasn't a great deal in it. And the way they're playing just now, and you start looking at the bench if you're a Villa fan and think, okay, what can we do to change it? Well, they can't do as much as Newcastle United could do if they needed to make a change.
So Newcastle leading Aston Villa by 3 goals to 1. Meanwhile, news comes in from Germany that Harry Kane has been named among Bayern Munich's substitutes for the German Super Cup match against RB Leipzig, which is being played in the Allianz Arena in Bayern Munich's home ground. So on the bench, and if I know anything about Harry Kane, even though he was up to the middle of last night, I believe, completing his medical and all of the various paperwork, he'll be on that field before the end of that match.
I thought you were going to say he's going to score. And I wouldn't have argued with that either, because the capabilities he has as a player and what he's done in his career, if he come on late in a match there for 25 minutes, you would not bet against him. Starting his career gloriously.
So Harry Kane is named as a substitute by Thomas Tuchel for the German Super Cup match in Munich this evening. I heard earlier on 5 Live Sport the post that he published as Newcastle send a long ball. Martinez out of his penalty area, heads it square. Almiron's onto this and shoots, but Martinez was able to recover, get back into position on the edge of the 6-yard box and drop on the quite weakly hit shot, actually.
I mean, Martinez has probably had more headers than just about any other player on the pitch today. He keeps on coming out because they play such a high line. But Newcastle are just about getting through time and again, and indeed once did get through and he got booked and almost sent off.
Villa breakaway downfield with Camara's carried it deep into Newcastle territory, gives it to the right hand side. McGinn's ball into the edge of the area. Tielemans with a touch, and it's a heavy touch and it just runs away through for a goal kick. And Unai Emery there with his greased slick back black hair immediately turns and motions to the bench. I think he's thinking about another change.
No, quite a few changes have to make now. Just see a number of players running out of juice. Isak, I mean, he's very, very tired just now. And you've got a real quality centre forward on the bench that you can bring on. So that must be a temptation. You can see Tonali, he's actually stretching his hamstring a little bit there, making sure he's okay. You look through a variety of players on there, but the man who needs to make the big changes is that man, Unai Emery, because 2 goals down, they've got to get something quite soon if they're going to get anything out of this game.
3-1 Newcastle lead. BBC 5 Live, BBC Sounds as well. You can find 5 Live there. And remember that you can always go back and listen to the commentaries again. If you go to 5 Live, the schedule, you'll find the commentary programme. You might want to go back and have a listen again to the England win in the World Cup quarter-final, which was a really tense affair, live from our team in Sydney at lunchtime today. Well, Diego Carlos is going to come on for Aston Villa.
Number 7, John
Diego Carlos.
And replacing him, number 3,
coming on for John McGinn, yes. Who, as I mentioned, actually, the Villa captain, he's been quiet.
Yeah, the game's passed him by today. I think he was played almost wide left in a 4-4-2 in the first half. Not really suitable for him. I know he wears number 7, but he's not a winger. He's a player who wants to play one off the front if he possibly can. He moved him a little bit in the second half, but he's not been able to play in the most central position, and it absolutely hasn't suited him.
So Diego Carlos is on. Villa did play with 3 central defenders pre-season at times. Watkins does really well into the area, shoots it, saved by Pope, and then the follow-up is blazed wide. Arriving at pace was Cash, actually, the right back, and he was stretching. He was arriving too quickly, it would seem, and he landed the ball into the Leazes stand.
Well, first of all, it's an open goal. Yes, it's coming to him at some pace there, but he'll know that it's a phenomenal chance. But you have to always remember, he's probably around 70 yards there, full pace, and the ball has come to him at full pace. It looks like a terrible miss, and he'll be disappointed he didn't score. But that actually was quite hard to get that one in. But another very, very good chance for Aston Villa, and that'll give them some hope.
So the score remains Newcastle 3, Aston Villa 1. Excellent play from Ollie Watkins in the build-up to that. Beat the defender onto his right foot. Pope made a good save, actually. And then Cash shot wide. Diaby is challenged, tackled by Joe Linton. Went down, no free kick. Bruno Guimarães now with a sort of speckled blonde rinse at the moment, the Brazilian, Bruno Guimarães. And passes the ball into Diña's chest and it bounces out of play on the halfway line. So Villa now with the 3 central defenders, Konsa on the right, Diego Carlos on the middle, and Pau Torres on the left of that
well, that's
back 3.
Yeah, it's giving them a chance to get Diaby to go up front alongside Watkins. Start the second half, it was more of kind of wide player attacking from midfield to get up to Watkins a wee bit later, but they've went back to a line-up now that gives them a chance to get 2 strikers up there and put a little bit of pressure on those centre-backs of Newcastle United.
So on this grey Saturday evening on Tyneside, Newcastle leading Aston Villa by 3 goals to 1. Botman with the ball in front of his penalty area, turns to his left, gives it to Byrne. Bruno Guimarães now in possession, curls a low pass to Trippier on the right-hand side.
By the way,
then Newcastle go back again.
Very quickly, he's going to make 2 changes here, and they are precisely the changes I was thinking he should make. Eddie Howe, isn't how many times he does that. Well, I think Gordon's getting tired out there, and also Cash is running off him and also almost scored a goal. The minute that happens, you think, okay, have I got someone else that can go and do that job for me? Well, Harvey Barnes isn't a bad substitute, and I mentioned a few minutes ago that I thought Isak was running out of juice, so I'm sure he'll come off too.
Yep, 2-goal Isak as he is today, and Villa in possession. So Wilson and Barnes coming on. Sounds excellently old-fashioned, that, doesn't it? Wilson and Barnes. Here's Pau Torres back into the centre circle to Diego Carlos. Next time the ball goes out of play, Eddie Howe's going to make his first changes of the match. But Tonali is tenacious, and he's taken the ball off Pau Torres, who, well, he had the slightest little grasp of Tonali's shirt, and Tonali threw himself to the ground, and Bruno Guimaraes has said something.
No, he hasn't. I'll tell you what he's done. He's asked for a yellow card, John.
Oh,
that's exactly what he's done. Another one of those rules.
And presumably, we should be applauding that from the rooftops.
Yes.
Player booked for brandishing the imaginary yellow card, Bruno Guimaraes.
The referee's gone over. Guimaraes said, well, didn't really mean it too much, but hey, them's the rules just now. And players have to get used to changes, don't they? There are going to be a lot of them are going to find it difficult to get used to these changes. But certainly that's one of the ones that they're going to have to get used to. No brandishing yellow cards. Trust me, we didn't do so many years ago. We don't have to do so now.
Okay, when Newcastle are making these changes, let's get an update from another one of our excellent sporting venues this weekend, where the Women's Open is taking place at Walton Heath. Ian Carter.
And Charlie Hull on the threshold potentially of going to the top of the leaderboard now, because she's over a birdie putt at the 17th, sends it forward and into the hole, and that moves the Englishwoman to 9 under par, and Charlie Hull leads the Women's Open here at Walton Heath. She's picked up 4 shots today, and Ali Ewing, the overnight leader, is now back at 7 under, 2 shots behind.
Thank you, Ian. So Harvey Barnes is on for his competitive debut for Newcastle United. Did score a couple of goals in the friendly against Villarreal here last Sunday, so he's already kind of got his feet under the table. When he's at his best, Harvey Barnes, when he was at his best for Leicester, he was absolutely terrific. So let's see what he can do in a black and white shirt. And Callum Wilson, last season's top scorer for Newcastle, 18 goals, scored 11 goals in April and May, which is why it was a little surprising that he wasn't in the team for the start of this season. But he's on, as in the Footballers Football podcast, Callum Wilson, in his spare time. And as Pat suggested, Isak and Gordon have gone off. Gordon had he was very involved.
He was. I actually think it was a really good game today. And it annoys defenders, and it annoys sometimes opposing supporters, and if they're Evertonian, annoys them as well. But in actual fact today, attitude spot on, work rate superb, skills good as well. So I think he should be pleased with his afternoon's work.
As the ball is passed out of play behind Tonali. A little bit of transfer news for you as well, in that Fulham have confirmed, this has been in the offing actually, Fulham have signed Adama Traore on a 2-year contract. So Fulham, who got off to a winning start today, they've confirmed the signing of Adama Traore. 20 minutes to play plus added time here before 6:06, before Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton, so you can book your calls now. But he has Cash doing well on the right hand side, crosses the ball into Joe Linton, advances out of play for a throw into Villa in the Newcastle left back area. We'll be back to Twickenham next time we get a chance. It's 9-3 to England last we heard from there. Here's Pau Torres, stands up, plays the ball through the middle, overhits it all the way through to Pope. So now is a good time to bring in Chris Jones from Twickenham.
Wales lead, England 9, Wales 10, crossfield kick down bigger, taken by Josh Adams, felled in the air by Freddie Stewart, penalty try, yellow card Stewart. It's getting into calamity territory this for England, but what would a win at Twickenham do for Welsh confidence? They're buzzing. England 9, Wales 10, 17 minutes left.
Well, that will dominate the sporting headlines if England lose again to Wales. Tonali crossing the ball from the right hand side. Again, warm applause for that. Here is Barnes into the action for Newcastle. His cross came off the head of a defender. Diego Carlos threw himself at it, didn't land at the feet of anyone in a black and white shirt, and Aston Villa can bring it away through Camara's low pass forward to Diaby, but he miskicked that. Might even have kicked the ground as he kicked the ball. So as a result, Dan Byrne said thank you very much, and it remains Newcastle United 3, Aston Villa 1, with Pat Nevin, former Scotland international, sitting alongside me here low down at St James's Park.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely loving Tonali today. Just everything he does. His crossfield balls, his comfort and confidence on the ball. You're right, he has got that arrogance of Pirlo when he's on the ball, but he's adding something else as well. He's going forward, he's chasing down, he's closing down, he loves the tackle. He today looks like the total, absolute and complete midfielder.
Every little thing he does is magic, as a Tyneside once sang, and indeed probably still does sing. Tonali now again with the ball on the left hand side. So
where's
casual.
he playing? He was on the right hand side 2 seconds ago, controlling the play from there. He just finds out where the space is, and that knowledge of knowing where the space is and developing it from there has been superb.
Good looking midfield, isn't it? Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and the revitalised Joe Linton. You could think that there'd be plenty of teams that would like that midfield three, as Barnes is fouled by Cash. Different man. Another foul from Cash, this time on the newly arrived Barnes, and a free kick on the halfway line.
Yeah, just now, Cash is enjoying it slightly more because, with the three at the back, he can fly a little bit further forward, but at the moment, he's got forward twice and nearly scored once. A couple of times he's got to the byline, but it's quite sporadic, isn't it? I mean, Newcastle still have most of the control of most of the game, particularly in midfield.
Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton are standing by, probably sitting by, waiting to take your calls. 08085 909 693 to book your call to talk about, well, anything you like. Of course, the Harry Kane story, one of the stories of the summer, if not the football transfer story of the summer, I think it is. And the ball is out of play for a throw into Villa on the far side. I don't know whether you heard his post a little earlier when I thought it had something of the "it's not you, it's me" about it from Harry Kane.
I mean, he couldn't not say something for them.
No,
Spurs fans.
But of course, as probably most people know, whenever you hear that, actually the opposite does tend to be true. And top scorer 9 seasons in a row for Tottenham Hotspur. Here's Digne on the left-hand side. I know we've spoken a lot about it this week. Pau Torres plays it in, Douglas Luiz, but then that's cleared away on the edge of the box. I feel probably the final straw was to score 32 goals last season, 30 in the Premier League, and they finished 7th and on in the Champions League.
You will not hear one professional footballer, I suggest, saying he shouldn't have made the move.
Cash, low on the right, shoots across goal, but Pope goes down and just got a touch on that, or perhaps it flicked the leg of the defender. I think it might have been Pope.
Yeah, it just zipped across. So there's real pace about it when it came across there. Keeper had to watch it closely, and it was real pace. Yeah, I think goalkeeper's got a little bit of touch on that.
Corner then for Digne from the left-hand side. Villa fans full of optimism as well, like the home supporters watching from way up on high. You'll know if you've been to St James's Park as an away supporter. Digne swings this in, head out from Diego Carlos, but that drops well wide actually. Got up well, 10 yards out, but it dropped well wide, and it's a goal kick to Newcastle, who continue to lead by 3-1. Join us again from 12 o'clock tomorrow. All the days football covered, all the days sport covered. Five Live's Premier League Sunday, featuring commentary on Brentford against Tottenham. Ian Dennis and Clinton Morrison will be there, and Matt Upson will be with me at Stamford Bridge from 4:30 for Chelsea against Liverpool. Don't miss it. Free kick to Newcastle, Harvey Barnes is fouled. Free kick to Newcastle, 10 yards inside their own half. So what are you thinking, Pat? I mean, very, very early days of this season, 15 minutes to play. The question will be, are Newcastle able, they've got to play in the Champions League this season, are they able to get any closer to Manchester City? Can they challenge at the top of the league?
Well,
and can Villa get themselves into the top 4 potentially?
Well, it's a big call for, if you ask me, can they get Champions League football in top 4 again? Yeah, because they've now got strength, depth everywhere on the field. There's not one player you think they can lose and they'll be totally badly harmed, or certainly hold below the hull, but pushing towards Man City, that's different gravy altogether.
Bruno Guimaraes does well there under pressure in centre field, keeps the ball for Newcastle. 3-1 lead. Newcastle not looking to do anything silly, although Tonali couldn't control a bouncing ball there, but Trippier helped him out. And now Almiron back to Bruno Guimaraes, who looks up and goes for a long, flamboyant crossfield pass. Cash chasing, Cash gets there ahead of Barnes, has to take it back into his own penalty area though. Barnes herring around behind him. Cash, little pass back to Martinez, who had to chip it out of play. Cheers from the Gallagate.
Had it been any other defender, not Cash, I think Barnes was going in there. So really good play by Cash.
Throw-in taken, Burners into the play. Burn, who was chosen ahead of target, a little bit like Unai Emery. Eddie Howe going with what was his tried and tested defence of last season to start this new season, with Burn, Botman and Cher and Trippier. Ball's played through into the penalty area. Barnes across, Wilson turns it in, and there is no flag, and it's a fourth goal for Newcastle, and Callum Wilson is in on the act. 4-1 they lead Aston Villa, and this has been some start to the new Premier League season for Newcastle. They are having a look, so we'll not absolutely know if this is confirmed yet, but it looks as though Newcastle believe that they've got a 3 points and opening match winning fourth goal.
Yeah, I mean, beautifully played. I have to say, I stood up immediately and looked and thought that looked offside to me. Just the first ball played through, and then even the second ball, was it a cutback or was it played, across the ball? Yeah, I'm definitely checking it just now. But whether it is offside or not, which it's not, it was a beautifully made goal.
It looks like it's been given. That's what the referees indicated it is. And Callum Wilson, 18 goals last season, now gets off the mark as well, and that makes it almost the perfect start for Newcastle and Eddie Howe and all of these Newcastle fans inside St James's Park.
Yeah, I mean, the perfect start. The two strikers are scoring. We were talking before about getting close to Man City, only one step at a time. Make sure they can have got enough strength and depth to play Champions League football and go further and stay in the top four. You've just taken off Isak, you brought on Callum Wilson, he just scored immediately. They brought on Harvey Barnes, who we know the quality he's got on that left hand side, and that underlines what I'm saying. There is no part of that field where you're worried about now with quality if anyone gets injured, and that's what you've got to do if you're going to be competitive in A, the Premier League at the top part, and also B, Champions League as well.
And also Harvey Barnes into the action, creates that goal.
I mean, what a lift for him. Yeah, what a lift for him, John. Wilson may have been a bit miffed not starting the game, but if he gets a goal, that will cheer him up slightly.
So Callum Wilson makes it 4-1 to Newcastle. And that goal coming in the 78th minute, there's no way back in this match now for Aston Villa. And after the brilliant rise of Unai Emery's Aston Villa, well, this isn't how they wanted the new season to start, but it proves that St James's Park, for any team that comes here, this is a challenge to play against Eddie Howe's side. They've lost only 4 matches here in the Premier League out of 33 home Premier League matches under Eddie Howe's management. And now Newcastle are in business again, and Wilson, from a very tight angle, shoots straight at Martinez, who's able to catch the ball in front of his throat.
We were asking before the game about what we felt about these two sides, where they could go in the league. I'm very comfortable saying, well, Newcastle, don't worry there, that's going to be fine, they're in great shape. Villa not as comfortable, and suggesting maybe if they go upper mid-table, I think they should be quite pleased with that again. A number of people saying that they should be much better than that. I still think if they challenge for the top 6, I still think that would be a very good season once again for Villa. And I thought that before the game, and I think that even more so now.
Are Wales still heading for victory at Twickenham? Have they won it? Chris Jones.
They are 1 point ahead with 10 to go, but the big news here is that the England captain Owen Farrell has been sent off for a high shot. He was originally given a yellow card, but on review it's gone to red. England miraculously scored a converted try, went down to 12 men, and England are pressing, but Farrell is set for a ban that could rule him out for the start of the Rugby World Cup. All happening at Twickenham. England 16, Wales 17, England captain Farrell sent off, 9 minutes to go.
So do not miss the 5 Live Rugby Union Weekly this week from BBC Sounds, and also the Footballers Football Podcast with Callum Wilson, who we're watching here. He's just scored his first goal of the new season as the ball is played through to Barnes, who might have been offside. There's no flag. Wilson waits in the middle. Barnes to Wilson, and Wilson somehow misses it.
I think it's a save. I think it's a brilliant save, John.
Well, the recovering Martinez got something on that to deflect it over the top, and there was no flag. The flag didn't come.
I think it's a brilliant save by his legs. He's going the other way there. I mean, you can imagine him missing it because he was, he's 5 yards out. He's in front of goal. The keeper's gone beyond him, but he sticks out his right leg, and I think it's come off. We're just going to see a little bit of a replay now. And exactly that. It's come off his right knee and flown over the top, and well, Callum will be talking about that in his podcast, I think.
Super save, but Wilson should have buried that.
Absolutely.
And Newcastle fans now, since Barnes and Wilson came on together, they've looked like a real partnership.
Great to have options, John. Brilliant to have options.
Less than 10 minutes to go. The corner is headed by Joe Linton and cleared off the line. Ollie Watkins back on the goal line to get that one away. And then Villa take it away. Bruno Guimaraes feels he was fouled on the edge of the area, but no free kick given, and then it's wasted by Camara, and Newcastle are back in possession. Villa are going to make their 4th and 5th changes when they get a chance. Young Jadon Philogene is going to come on, and also Philippe Coutinho as well.
Given that break there, it was a dangerous looking break from Aston Villa, who almost lost goal twice in a row there. But the man to break it up again, Tonali, absolutely everywhere, sitting in front of his centre backs. He has got such an extraordinary calming influence on the group. Knows when to slow it down, knows when to quicken the game up. Not that many players, when you think about it in world football, can control games at the pace they want them controlled at. Tonali looks as if he's perfectly capable of doing that for Newcastle.
This is quite a statement win for Newcastle, to begin the season with expectations so high after what was achieved last season. But to do this to Aston Villa, who over the course of the last year have been so impressive since Unai Emery took the reins at the start of November. Here's Barnes on the left-hand side. Ole's now. Wilson trying to find a position. Ball just ran away from him. And Villa have got the ball back on the edge of their own penalty area with Douglas Luiz.
And just listen to Ole's with Newcastle there, the way they held the ball with such comfort and composure in that midfield. I think you may have gone many years at this stadium without hearing Ole's.
Oh, it's lost by Camara inside his own penalty area. Bruno Guimaraes takes it on, but there was a last gasp challenge in there to deflect it wide from Diego Carlos, but that was careless from Camara. Too casual, rather like Konza when he was caught out for the goal, the second goal that Isak scored. It's a corner to Newcastle.
Yeah, I think Newcastle are going to make the changes before the corner's taken. Don't want to take chances with anyone getting injured, so Joe Linton might make wages now, but what a great opportunity to bring everybody on, or as many players as possible on.
Well, changes are going to be made, and Bruno Guimaraes is coming on.
Number 7, Joe Linton, and
so Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes are off. Sean Longstaff is coming on.
Yeah, and it's good to get Guimaraes off. He's on a yellow card. You don't want him to pick up a red. A silly one near the end of the game. There could be extra time or more injury time added, so don't take any chances this time of the season. The game is just about one, so relax a little bit. And even Aston Villa are going to make a couple of changes here, which is unusual at a corner kick. Or are they going to wait?
It's not Joe Linton coming off, it's Almiron. I actually think, and this is an achievement in itself, I actually think they've turned up the volume of the Newcastle United public address system. So Murphy comes on for Almiron, gets a little pat on the head, and Murphy, who did well in the latter part of last season, he comes on. So Joe Linton is still on the field, and those Villa changes are not going to be made just yet. We've got 5 minutes left plus added time, so who knows how long there is to play. We'll find out as well post-match exactly what the situation is with Tyrone Mings, who was stretchered off in the first half. Corner to Newcastle, in it comes, it's headed away on the edge of the 6-yard area, comes out to substitute Murphy, and then Tonali turns and plays it all the way back to goalkeeper Pope behind him.
Has his heart rate moved above about 70? Tonali, he just consistently looks the calmest person out there. Everyone is rushing about at 100 mile an hour. He seems completely in control of every moment.
Lines open for 606 for Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton. 08085 909 693. I know I heard them at half time. They certainly want to talk about the Moises Caicedo transfer. Be very interesting to see where he is at Stamford Bridge tomorrow afternoon, if indeed he is there. You'll hear that on 5 Live with us. So the 4th and 5th changes for Aston Villa. Unai Emery taking off Diaby and Cash from the right-hand side, and as I say, bringing on Jadon Philogene, who will play in the Diaby position on the right-hand side, the academy product, the England under-20 international. And Villa also bringing on Philippe Coutinho, the former Liverpool man. Here is Philogene into the action straight away for Aston Villa. Left-footed ball across the penalty area, that's blocked away by the shins of Byrne. It's actually kept in play by Barnes. Barnes back to Byrne, and then Byrne to Wilson on the halfway line. Wilson overhits his pass downfield, and it will run away out of play for... in fact, I think Martinez might keep that in. No, it is out for a throw-in, which Villa will take. By the way, in that new podcast, new series dropped this week of the Footballers Football podcast, as they say in the podcast world. Among the things Callum Wilson talks about, it's quite interesting as a striker, he says, love the idea of more added time, because it means I've got more time to score goals, which is a very good point. But also, he talks about the leadership group at Newcastle. And I notice in the programme today, there's no captain's column. It will be a column from the leadership group. That's very 2023, don't you think?
I like it a lot. You know, sometimes I think, certainly in the British game, we take a lot of this, who is the captain, the effect that you have as a captain. You should have more than one captain. There should be enough players out there that, you know, can take it, understand when to change things.
Ball bounces back into the Villa penalty area, but a heavy touch from Murphy takes it out for a goal kick. So let's get another update from Walton Heath from Ian Carter at the Women's Open.
Fantastic up and down at the last, John, for Charlie Hull, for a par that takes her to the top of the leaderboard, a round of 68. She's sharing the lead at 9 under par with Lilia Vu, and they will take a one-stroke advantage into the final day here at Walton Heath.
And a dramatic twist at Twickenham, where England now lead Wales by 19 points to 17. So England 19, Wales 17, despite what Chris was saying. And there are 4 minutes to play, so more on that to come. The 100, by the way, is your listening option on Sports Extra tonight. And then the Joshua fight is here on 5 Live after 10 o'clock this evening. And the other news, we've ripped up the schedules for midweek after England won through to the World Cup semi-final, as Villa bring the ball forward towards the edge of the penalty area with Coutinho, but Newcastle are able to get a touch in on that. It was Wilson actually in there, and Villa are back in possession inside the Newcastle half. Yes, Tuesday on 5 Live, Sweden-Spain from 9 o'clock in the morning, so that's on 5 Live. And then Wednesday, live from inside the stadium, our team in Sydney will bring you commentary on Australia-England. 11 o'clock kickoff on Wednesday morning, BST. Tielemans has done well, plays the ball into the middle, and then Coutinho arriving, shoots wide under pressure. And actually, Tielemans beat Tonali inside the box there to create that chance.
Right, I've got 20 odd seconds to get here. We play a little game trying to guess how many extra minutes there's going to be end of games. Well, we used to play that game. I don't think I want to play that game anymore, because it used to be either 3, 4, 5 or 6.
Let's play it for fun.
I'm going 7 then. I'll go 7 then.
I'm going to go more. I'm going to go 8.
What?
Yeah, I'm going to go 8. Well, you went. It's 5. It's 5. Here's Barnes away for Newcastle. Newcastle go for 5, and they get it. And it's Harvey Barnes who scores on his Newcastle United Premier League debut in front of the Gallowgate end at St James's Park, and then does his bow and arrow celebration in the corner, beautifully tucked away. Newcastle United 5, Aston Villa 1. What a start for the Geordies, what a start for Eddie Howe, what a start at St James's Park.
Oh, it's a dream scenario. Everyone is having a dream of pure Newcastle United player. All the new players coming on, you know, certainly both sides had decent starts, but for Newcastle, you come on and you just signed for a new club and you score a goal. Barnes has scored one, made one, you're only a substitute. And both exactly started brilliantly. You know, Wilson's come on and scored brilliantly. They look very, very special, start to finish. Aston Villa actually, to be honest, defending hasn't been particularly good. And the referees came over and showed another yellow card.
The referee has booked Tonali, the sainted Tonali, for wasting time leaving the field. And Eddie Howe's now gone across to Graham Scott, the fourth official, and is asking for an explanation of this. I mean, that was a right schmozzle there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit harsh. I thought Tonali had been booked earlier, but you corrected me that he hadn't been booked earlier. It's a real, that would have been a real darkness on the end of the evening for Newcastle United, but at the moment they are rampant.
There was a substitution for Newcastle.
So Newcastle United 5, Aston Villa 1. And Newcastle looking for a sixth, and Wilson goes for goal from 25 yards. The ball was played into his path actually by Jacob Murphy, and he just allowed it to run, went for goal, but Martinez was able to drop down and make the save to his left.
You do feel a lot bit sorry for Aston Villa. You know, as the second half has gone on, they've really lost their shape. You look totally unstructured just now. They made an awful lot of changes, but they've tried to change the system 3 or 4 times, and it's just looking, leaving huge gaps all over the place at the back.
Which does beg the question, where's this come from Unai Emery's Aston Villa? As I say, unbeaten pre-season. Well, the first team were, they put out a team against Rush Hall Olympic, which is very much a second string, and they lost, but the first team unbeaten, and then that brilliant latter part of the season that they put in. But to come here and lose when there was so much optimism, to lose 5-1.
The Villa on top of it, John, remember this Mings injury, you know, that makes a big difference. Now, I think it may have been 2-1 already by the time he went off. I'm trying to remember because so many goals have flown in.
I will just check.
Yeah, but you know, it makes a difference when the leader.
2-1.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. So 2-1, they had lost a couple of goals anyway by that time, but they had a game plan. They had, you know, him at the centre of it. He's taken off, and it has to be adapted. It sounds a wee bit like an excuse. You will lose players. You have to be able to adapt when they change. But that is the secondary story. The main story is how good Newcastle have looked and how good every single change they've made has looked.
Well, it's going to be Unai Emery's heaviest defeat as the manager of Aston Villa. Newcastle winning 5-1. Free kick on the left that Douglas Luiz swings in, and Nick Pope moves across and got it rather clumsily too. It was going in, you know, into the top corner, and Nick Pope got a touch on that and bundled it wide and behind for a corner from the left-hand side for Villa. St James's Park is buoyant. Ball in again, took a deflection, Pope comes for it, and then 2 Newcastle defenders collide in heading it behind Cher and Byrne, and it's another corner to Villa.
But great action. Do you see those Newcastle players? They're 5-1 up. We've got about a minute to go there. High-fiving each other. We do not want to give anything away, even though it's the last minute, even though this game is won there. They have a pride in this score.
Corner then, and it comes to the near post, and it's half volleyed away to safety by Botman towards the halfway line. We will bring you live interviews during 6:06 with the 2 managers and anyone else we'll be able to provide down there. As Newcastle have it, there's a Villa player gone down holding his face. It's Digne, who I think will get back to his feet. And Murphy is able to take the ball away. Yes, so listen out for Eddie Howe live and Unai Emery live in 6:06. They'll be contrasting interviews. I'm on interview duty today.
Good luck,
Pat. I'll be gentle with Unai Emery, particularly as you say in the circumstances with Tyrone Mings' injury. We'll certainly want to hear what the news is there, as will all Villa fans. But 5-1 it is. And this is some start for Newcastle.
It is, and you think how Eddie Hall usually keeps things under control, he doesn't get too carried away. It's going to be hard for him, isn't it? Because you can see something very special. We all knew it was going to happen eventually in Newcastle, but this looked quite a giant leap forward, even from last season.
The other thing for Villa is that should be mentioned again. You know, they lost Buendia this week, really important player. Young Jacob Ramsey is also out injured at the moment with a metatarsal injury. Those two players, big part of what you would call Unai Emery's first team. Murphy playing the ball through the middle, and Wilson's got away again from Konsa. Wilson on excellent recovery from Konsa, who I don't know how he got his leg to that. And that's the last action here at St James's Park. Blue skies now above St James's Park, and that feels like a metaphor for what we've seen today. We came into this match, this opening game of the season at St James's Park, with Newcastle fans looking to the heavens and looking at what might be possible. And what a start they've made. 5-1 against one of the teams of last season, Aston Villa. Pat Nevins.
Well, just underline, that's not a fluke. That absolutely reflects the ability to do the two teams on the day. As I say, we knew it was going to start coming for Newcastle, but this is a massive jump forward. Yeah, they've put on the right song at the end of this game here. Moving on up. They certainly are.